My biggest mistake. I was watching an M-Crafts video, and he was talking about how, a woman is basically a blank canvas, and you want to get a canvas that a woman hasn't, that a man hasn't painted on, meaning, slept with before marriage. And you want to be like, the first one to paint on that canvas and make that your canvas. And, we already know that, right? I've talked about that in some of my videos, right? How, you want a woman who hasn't been, imprinted by another man. But something that he said that was very interesting in his video really caught my attention. And I have kind of like a life story that's like a perfect example of that I wanted to share. Basically, he was talking about how us as guys, we always go for women that we feel like are fun and exciting and have like, like a wild personality, or maybe have like this bad girl personality about her, or, puts out a lot, shows off her body. That's what, as men in America, that's kind of like what we're trained to go for, right? And he was talking about how the problem with that is when you get a girl who's a non-virgin, a lot of these girls, the reason they're so fun and exciting and wild is because that's the energy of the guys that they've been with inside of them. So it's not like this is her real personality and this is like she's like purely like this. This is a culmination of guys living inside of her that are making her this way. And that's not a woman you can build with. He said, he was basically talking about how the girls that are the most boring, meet because they haven't had like a lot of guys, they haven't had any guys in them, really. They're virgins. If you guys ever meet a virgin, they're pretty boring because they don't have the spirits of any guys living inside them. But he said that's actually the kind of girl you want because you want to be able to build with them. And I found that very interesting, and I feel like that's why so many guys miss their opportunities. And that's probably one of my biggest mistakes too, if not my biggest mistake, is avoiding the girls that I feel like are boring, that would actually be good for me, but instead chasing the girls that are more fun, that have been around, that have been passed around. And that really applies to so many things in life. The reason I stopped eating meat, for example, is because it was starting to give me all kinds of body problems, right? I was starting to have pains in my wrists and all kinds of weird pains and stuff like that from eating meat and eating sugar and stuff like that. And it's so much fun eating meat and eating sugar, kicking back sodas and eating steak and lobster. It's so much fun, but it's so bad for you. It's the same thing with these girls that you like, chasing the bad girls, that are like kind of fun and slutty, and secretly wanting them to be loyal to you, knowing that doesn't even make sense. It's the same thing as like eating junk food and wanting it to be good for you, or eating junk food and like wanting to not have health problems. One thing that comes with the territory. If you go around and deal with sleazy women, you get sleazy results. If you eat junk food, you get bad health problems. A lot of the things that are the best for you in life are the most boring. So I found that very interesting because I'm like, wow, I have an actual story of a boring girl that I would have been great with. And she was cute, by the way, too, but she was a virgin, and I was just immature. I was like 19 when I met her. We were both 19, and I kind of just stopped talking to her because I found her boring. But she actually would have been great with me, and she really liked me a lot. Basically, I met her like out in public, and I just like, gave her my number, and we went on a date. And she told me, like, look, I've never even kissed a guy before. She's very conservative, right? She's from like a small town in Kentucky, and her dad is like the head of the CIA or something. Like, she came from a very protected background. And when I was younger, that was like a turnoff to me. I'm like, oh God, I don't want to have to deal with all that, protective dad. She hasn't even been with a guy. She probably sucks in bed. But those are like all the best qualities because she's not tainted, right? So on our first date, she brings one of her girlfriends with her to basically screen me out to make sure I'm like a decent guy. And back then I was like, oh my God, this is retarded. She brought her friend on the date. Like, what the hell is this? She doesn't know how to deal with guys. But that was actually a good thing on her part because, she wants to make sure that I'm not, a psychopath. And her friend wasn't like trying to use me for anything. She wasn't like they weren't like trying to get me to buy them stuff like when other girls bring their friends on dates to like use the guy for stuff. It wasn't like that. Her friend was like some nerdy fat girl that was just making sure I was like a decent person. And you don't really see too many girls have that. Girls who bring their friends on dates, it's usually they're both like trying to use the guy for something. But anyways, that's besides the point. So we went on a few dates after that, and for some reason I was just like, she's kind of bland, she's kind of plain, she's not really that fun. She's a nice person and everything, but I don't know, I should be like banging hot, party girls. So I kind of stopped talking to her, and that was probably one of the biggest mistakes of my life, because I could have actually built something with that girl. And she wasn't gonna just give it up so easily. She's like, you have to meet my dad. He has to approve of you. And that's another thing M. Crafts was talking about in his video. He was saying, spiritually, something happens when a woman understands that her father is giving her to this man. That opens up something in her that makes her like commit even more. She's like, okay, I'm moving from my father to this man, and it's like she knows deep down, okay, I really belong to this guy. And so many girls that we meet, these days, they don't even have that. You meet a girl who's already been passed around with a bunch of guys. You never get her father's blessing when you're dealing with her. So subconsciously, she doesn't even feel like it's serious, right? So it's so many things that are warped and backwards that we do, in the society that just give you, weak results. Like I said, if you deal with sleazy party girls, they're gonna do sleazy stuff to you. It's not gonna just be smooth sailing with them. Yeah, you'll have some great sets in the beginning, but they're gonna do stuff that drives you crazy, and they're gonna find a way to destroy your relationship. If you eat junk food, if you eat McDonald's, if you eat, steak and lobster and Coke and drink beers, yeah, it's gonna taste good in the moment, but you're going to have serious health problems later on down the line. Anytime you do the fun thing instead of the thing you need to do, you always pay the price for it later. And that's something that kind of just hit me today. It's kind of like, like going vegetarian was so boring for me, but it's paying off amazingly. Yeah, dealing with girls that have never slept with anyone and are kind of boring, and you have to get their father's permission, to like really be with them. Yeah, it's kind of like a huge pain in the beginning, but it's probably so much more worth it in the end. And here's the thing. This is another thing M. Crafts was talking about. He said, that woman that's boring will become more fun over time, because she's going to commit to you, and she's going to start taking on little traits of your personality, because women take on parts of personalities of men that they sleep with, right? So she'll become more fun over time, and she'll be your woman exclusively, and you'll have the peace of mind knowing she doesn't have other guys running around inside her soul, influencing the decisions she makes. And I don't know, that really just hit me. I'm like, that's the biggest mistake I've probably ever made, is passing over the boring, untainted girls for the more fun, slutty, used up girls that have guys living inside their souls. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely probably the biggest mistake I've ever made. But the beautiful thing as a man, especially a young man, is now I know what to look for. And not saying I'm getting married anytime soon. And I'm not saying I'm doing it in this country either, that's for sure. But when I am ready to make that decision, maybe in 25 years or something, I'll know exactly how to do it, because I have references from the past of what I did right and what I did wrong and who to avoid. You know what I'm saying? In this society, men just marry a hot woman who's kind of used up and used to party, and they just hope it works out. They pick girls based on how attractive they are, not based on their history and who they've been with and how they were raised and who their parents were. They just pick a hot girl and hope that it works out with her. And that's not how you do it, If you get down with sleazy people, you're going to get sleazy results, you know what I'm saying? So that's really what you want to look out for, when you're ready to pick like a long-term partner. You want one that doesn't, and all virgins are boring because they just don't know what they're doing. But that's a blessing, because it's like a blank canvas, you sculpt them, you paint them in your image, So I'd rather have a boring, untainted girl that can become more fun over time than a used up fun, party slut that's already been painted on by, 20, 50 different guys. You know what I'm saying? So that's just really the message, guys. This goes with anything in life, anytime you do the fun thing instead of doing the right thing, you always pay the price for it. Whether it's with women, or whether it's with your diet, or whether it's with, I don't know, doing drugs or whatever. Anytime you sacrifice the right decision for the fun decision, you always end up paying for it in the end. So that's my biggest mistake, is choosing, the fun options over the ones that I know are what I really need to do. So always do what you have to do instead of what you want to do.